What's up, everyone? Tara Roberts here with Fantasy Pros, bringing you my top 10 waiver wire ads for Week 14. Before I get into the list, want a chance to win a signed DK Metcalf Seattle Seahawks jersey courtesy of Pristine Auction, the premier autographed sports memorabilia auction house? You need to subscribe to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel right now. Comment below on this video, and that's it. We'll be announcing the winner right here on the channel, so make sure you turn on those notifications so you can be alerted when new videos are up and to claim your prize. Didn't win? You can still sign up at pristineauction.com using the link in our video description, and if you use registration code FANTASYPROS, you'll get $10 off your first order. Now let's go ahead and dive right in. Number 10, Jonathan Mingo. I was very disappointed in what I saw from Bryce Young in what should have been a very advantageous matchup, but the increased volume to Jonathan Mingo was very intriguing. Mingo has had a strong presence in the Panthers offense from the beginning of the season with snap counts regularly above 90%, but because the Panthers offense has been so underwhelming, he has just been taking scraps behind Adam Thielen. But it appears the Panthers are preparing for the future, and we could see Mingo get more of a featured role within this offense. Mingo has had 6 or more targets for 4 straight weeks and had 10 targets in Week 13, catching 6 of them for 69 yards. The rest of season schedule is ugly for receivers, but the Panthers will continue to play from behind, and Mingo has value based off of pure volume. Number 9, DJ Dallas. At no point did I think that I would be recommending DJ Dallas as a waiver wire ad, but here we are. In a perfect world, we don't have to make this waiver wire claim because we get positive news around either Kenneth Walker or Zach Charbonnet over the next 2 days, but if we don't, we're looking at DJ Dallas as the RB1 for Seattle. Walker's injury is a multi-week absence, and Charbonnet's knee swelling is worrisome as well. We're not making any aggressive bids at Dallas because Seattle is playing the 49ers, a bad matchup for running backs, but Dallas has receiving upside, so if he is in fact the lead back, his value lies in getting a nice safe floor from 4 to 6 receptions. Running backs went down all over the place this week, so turning to Dallas as Seattle's RB1 isn't the worst thing you could do this week. Dallas can move up or down this list depending on the injury severity for Charbonnet. Number 8, Kenneth Gainwell. I make this video on Sunday night, and because DeAndre Swift's potential injury happened literally at the end of the game, I don't have a true gauge on Swift's status. He was shaken up on the Eagles' final drive after a big hit. It didn't look good, but if Swift's injury is significant to any capacity and can't play this week, Gainwell is a borderline top 24 back, even in a difficult matchup with Dallas because of the receiving value that he provides and the trust that the Eagles have shown within Gainwell at the goal line. Week 1 was a long time ago, but don't forget, Gainwell actually started the season as the Eagles' RB1. He got hurt, and he lost the job to Swift, and Swift dominated and never let the job go. At the very least, Kenneth Gainwell is a strong handcuff heading into the fantasy playoffs who could provide a spot start thanks to that receiving upside. Gainwell actually outscored Swift this week with 9.7 fantasy points, and it had absolutely nothing to do with the injury. Gainwell could move up or down this list as well if we get more clarity around the injury to Swift. Number 7, Roshan Johnson. Don't forget about Roshan Johnson coming off of the bye week here. Prior to the Bears bye week, Johnson had 10 carries for 35 yards and caught all 5 of his targets for 40 yards. He outperformed Khalil Herbert significantly, dominating the snap count and leaving Herbert with just 6 carries for 24 yards and 2 receptions for 14 yards. Donta Foreman could be back this week, making it an ugly 3-headed committee with a running quarterback, which is just plain awful for fantasy, but Roshan could remain fantasy relevant because the next 2 matchups aren't exactly run-friendly. The Bears play Detroit and Cleveland over the next 2 weeks, but Johnson has actually looked decent in the last matchup against Detroit, and if volume flips in his favor, he could have upside here. And he has clear receiving upside that also provides a nice fallback as well. Number 6, Isaiah Likely. Here's another guy coming off of a bye week that your league mates might have forgotten about. Isaiah Likely's Week 12 start didn't really pop from a fantasy perspective. He had 4 receptions on 6 targets for 40 yards, but Lamar Jackson had a subpar game with less than 200 passing yards, So all things considered, we really can't use that game as an expectation for rest of season. And a big reason why is that likely strength of schedule for tight ends is excellent. This week he faces the Rams, one of the best matchups for opposing tight ends. Then he's got a pass-friendly game against Jacksonville, and after that a tough matchup against San Francisco, and then another potential volume game against Miami. Likely is the clear tight end 1 for Baltimore for the remainder of the season, and he should be rostered. Number 5, Jamus Winston. Week 14 doesn't have a ton of teams on bye, but it does take out 2 top 12 quarterbacks, and if you didn't secure another option, you could turn to Jamus Winston. The matchup is terrible, but a bad matchup has never stopped Jamus Winston from chucking the ball. At the time of filming this video, Derek Carr's injury is listed as shoulder, back, and concussion. Absolutely none of that screams a guy that is returning this week. And it's also important to note that this would be the second time Carr has been in concussion protocol. Winston has his faults, but one thing he can absolutely do is take advantage of a stacked receiving core. Last time Jamus stepped in for Carr, he played roughly 50% of snaps and had 13 completions for 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. We accept the interceptions with Jamus because of the volume that he puts out. It negates the interceptions from a fantasy perspective. Despite the difficult matchup, Jamus is a streaming option if Carr is out. And if Carr's injury is long-term, the Saints face the Giants in Week 15, and Jamus would be a very strong start in that matchup. Number 4, Elijah Moore. Amari Cooper left the game with a concussion, and Elijah Moore led the Browns receiving core with 12 targets. He only caught 4 of them, but he had 12.3 fantasy points, and all things considered, it was a fine day. And this wasn't the first time that Elijah Moore outperformed or was on par with Amari Cooper. It happened several weeks in a row now, so this isn't really the result of Cooper suffering an injury. Moore is the clear wide receiver 2 in this offense and has finally found consistency in targets with a minimum of 7 targets in each of the past 4 games. And it's possible the Browns could find consistency in Joe Flacco, who had a good volume game. Moore has increased value if Cooper is out next week, but he also warrants a roster for rest of season regardless of Cooper's status. Number 3, Noah Brown. The Texans lost Tank Dell for the season, and that means Noah Brown has huge upside through the remainder of the season. Brown's production was non-existent in Week 13, but remember, he was coming off of an injury. It's not unusual to see a player eased back into action after a multi-game absence, especially when we consider that Brown didn't actually practice in full this past week and even missed a practice on Friday completely. I would not take his limited workload to indicate how he'll be used moving forward. Brown went on a mini hot streak before his injury when he stepped up as the wide receiver 2 due to injuries to Nico Collins and Robert Woods. Weeks 9 and 12, he had a total of 13 receptions for over 300 yards and 1 touchdown. He's an absolute must roster through the end of the season. Number 2, Taj Spears. Derrick Henry left Sunday's game with a potential concussion, and if he misses time, Taj Spears has huge upside this week. Spears had 16 carries for 75 yards and 4 receptions for 13 yards and was the only back the Titans used after Derrick Henry went down. Spears was a big favorite during draft season because of his 3-down back capabilities despite being a smaller back. So make no mistake, the Titans feel very comfortable giving volume to Spears. Miami's defense has been stout against the run and hasn't given up a rushing touchdown to opposing running backs since Week 7. Much of that has to do with the fact that the Dolphins' offense just jumps out and makes teams have to abandon the run, but Spears has receiving upside and volume will be on his side. He has potential as a top 24 back if Henry is out. Number 1, Ezekiel Elliot. Ramondre Stevenson went down with an ankle injury, and the clear next man up is Ezekiel Elliot. It might feel like you're traveling back in time, but considering that Stevenson wasn't the only back to go down this week, we cannot turn our nose up to a volume back, and that is what Elliot will be if Ramondre Stevenson misses time. Make no mistake, the Patriots' offense is horrible, and they have zero solution at quarterback, but that means that checkdowns are in play for Elliott, making him a solid RB2. Elliott had 17 carries for 53 yards and 4 receptions for 40 yards. His receiving upside means that he won't be scripted out of games, and the Patriots' defense is so strong, so it's unlikely that next week's game against Pittsburgh gets out of hand. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and remember, If you want a chance to win a signed DK Metcalf Seattle Seahawks jersey courtesy of Pristine Auction, the premier autographed sports memorabilia auction house, you need to subscribe to FantasyPros YouTube channel right now. Comment below on this video, and that's it. We'll be announcing the winner right here on the channel, so make sure you turn on those notifications so you can know when new videos are up and to claim your prize. Didn't win? You can still sign up at pristineauction.com using the link in our video description, and if you use registration code FantasyPros, you'll get $10 off your first order.